Good morning, this is Jack from theautochart.net, and this is a pre-market recording for Wednesday, the 9th of September. Our disclaimer, we do this for educational purposes only. We're here to share a technical analysis with you. We hope you can take some of what we're doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. We're not here to issue trading signals. Right, let's start off with the hourly charts. Now here, we're still on the buy signals we were on yesterday morning. This was secondary divergence on ES, which would be a buy signal if we didn't already have one, and it hasn't reached the possible near miss target yet. It is, however, very close to a significant resistance level, and that is at declining resistance, and that's currently in about the 3382 area, and that is the key resistance level that I'm watching this morning. If we break it, then we're probably in the short-term bottoming process, and I'll be talking more about that on the SPX charts, but we could be setting up for a retest of the high. And yesterday morning I was talking, of course, about this head and shoulder setup here, which obviously on a breakdown you've got two options there. You either head down towards the target 3110 area, and that's a good target area because it's very close to the 200 DMA, which on SPX this morning at the close yesterday was at 3093, so it's very close, and that's a secondary reversion to mean target. In terms of the first reversion to mean target, we've made it. We could be finding support here. We could reject back up into the high, and I'd be leaning towards, given this sanction here, that being the second high of a double top if we do reach it. We've made the 38.2% fib. We've made it to the 45 DMA on the SPX almost exactly. So that is the first reversion to the mean target, and that is complete. Stands leaning towards seeing a lower low here. I'm not sure. We've got loads of positive divergence on the hourly RSI 14s for pretty much everything already. If in the event that we find resistance here and head down and hit support, we could go down there and hit that in the 3250 to 3275 area. That is doable. I'd be slightly less comfortable, more likely if we did that to break down and actually go and make this target. But we would see what happened there. As it is, not a bad bottoming setup here. If we're going to reverse back up here, ideally we would see a break up here, slight break up, retest to the low, and then move up from there. But it wouldn't necessarily play out that way. NQ, we've already broken declining resistance on a 60-minute buy signal there too. Hasn't reached the possible near miss target there either. On RTY, we've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed, and we are pretty close to declining resistance, which I've got in about the 1532 area on YM. YM, we've got the other decent head and shoulders here. That's broken down, and that actually made it quite a lot of the way to target. I've got that in about the 26950 area, and we got most of the way there. It may be another leg down, might be to get it there. So that's quite a decent target area, and normally, until I'm giving strong evidence to the contrary, I'd normally be assuming that would get made, and it may get made. We will see. So let's have a look at DAX and the STX. No topping setups here. Look as though they're just tracking sideways, really, kicking around. Might see retests of those highs there too. Okay, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Now, on SPX, this is the 45 DMA chart, and you can see in June here, we almost made it, then we came back and tested exactly. That's the 45 DMA. That is the first main target for the reversion to the mean, and you can see we tested it yesterday at the low. That is a possible low, and that can hold. So watching for possible reversal back up here. We will see. If we break down further from here, and we could, the secondary target is the 200 DMA, and I've got that closed yesterday in the 1393 area, well 1394 really, and we could proceed down to there, and that head and shoulders could get us there. So we're at an inflection point here where we can turn back up and retest the high, or head down to that target, and then at that point very possibly come back and retest the high. So either way, a retest of the high is extremely possible, and it's something that we would see more often than not. Even with this hard rejection from the high. So we will see how that goes. Now, in terms of other indicators, SPX, nice RSI 14, possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing here, and we've got those across the board. We've got them on SPX, we've got them on NDX, we've got them on IWM, we've got them on Dow. On Dow, we had an RSI 5 sell signal, that's made target, and I've got 60-minute positive divergence there too. What would I put the percentage chances of larger targets up or down on SPX? ES SPX. At the moment, the chances of going down to the 200 DMA before finding some kind of a low, I would put it about 30%, maybe as high as 35. But I'd be leaning towards heading back up here, probably after a retest to low, but not necessarily. In terms of when we get up to the top, if we retest the high, I would put the chances of being some kind of a second high of a double top, or possible making the head on a head and shoulders, I would put that at about 70 to 75%. I think that's very likely. I think when we were looking at this reversion to the mean move here, this extreme spike high here up to 8.4% at this trend line here. And you remember when I was talking about the trend line, I said what I'd really be looking for if this was topping action would be a hard, fast rejection. We got it. This is a good indicator that this is actually a significant high being made. I mean, a significant high, I mean, maybe we'd only be reversing back down to monthly middle band at 3,000, but that would still be a significant move. And I think we could well do that. 60 to 70% of the time we would retest the high on this kind of high, and I think chances of this holding are pretty good. This trend line, that's Pinocchio, there's no indication really that we're going to get more than that. So that really, I'm thinking we may well be setting up for a 50% of the whole move up from the March low, or at least a very serious retracement. The monthly middle band would be one of the targets I'd be looking at, and that's in the 3,000 area. We may well get that. So watching for that. In the event that we retest the high, I would be looking for the second high of a double top there. Could we go lower first? Yeah, we could. 30 to 35% that we do. But I'm really liking the bottoming setup here, and we are at an obvious level to do that. And we may well see that. So we will see how that goes. Okay, other instruments. DX. DX. Slightly over the inverted head and shoulder area, but it's looking nice, and this is a good area for it. We may well pull back and make a right shoulder here. We could go and do the full retest of the low. The ideal right shoulder low would be in the 92 area. ZB. ZB, I've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. We may be failing here, and this is on the bigger picture, a possible IHS, but obviously the way equities goes here probably has an impact. So if equities go to another leg down, we could see a serious break up here, but I have to say I'm leaning more towards seeing a serious rally here and very possibly a high retest. And I think the head and shoulder patterns, if they fail, is a good indicator that it's going to be the retest, which is what we would get more often than not in any case. CL hasn't quite made target here. The target area is basically 3450 or 3550. Almost made it. Didn't get any positive divergence at the low. We've made the daily RSI 14 sell signal target. And we could be finding a low here, but I'd be leaning towards seeing a bit lower into that 3550 target, maybe a bit lower than that. But this is the retracement we have waited for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and more weeks for, and I think this is it. So that's looking pretty good. May need a lower low before it is done. But I think we're coming into a buy opportunity for this. NG, very nice looking head and shoulders here. It's broken down, it's back testing. What I would say here is we've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed, but that's almost made the possible near miss target now. And this might just be a back test. I'm watching the right shoulder, and the right shoulder high was at 2.62. Over that, and chances are we are retesting the high. Under that, we could just be back testing here before heading down to this target, which would be in about the 2.08 area. GC, heavily dependent on what happens on DX. I'm thinking DX is probably going to see a pullback here, in which case we're likely to go higher. Monthly pivot would be an obvious target in the 1980 area, but I'm thinking we would pull back and then probably go higher on DX, and then I'm thinking we may well go lower at that stage on GC and SI. On HG, no positive divergence here, but I'm still wondering about a retest of this high, which we didn't quite manage here. Watching the weekly pivot here, hold or fold at this stage. UUSD, this could be the right start of a head and shoulder, right shoulder forming. And it's looking pretty good for that so far. Ideal right shoulder high would be in the 1.1975 area, but it need not get that high. I've got obviously quite strong resistance at the monthly pivot and weekly pivot. GBP USD, I'm thinking this might be a retracement low. We've got a 6-minute buy signal fixed. It's quite a decent retracement here. Waiting to see what happens when we get to declining resistance, which is in about the 1.32 area. USD JPY, this looks like a triangle forming, and we've got a 6-minute buy signal fixed. This may actually deliver. waiting to see whether it does. If so, if it continues to form, the next obvious target would be the triangle resistance currently in the 106.85 area. USD CAD, this looks like a rising megaphone. We may be on the way back to rising megaphone support in the 1.31 area. This could be a flag. Alternately, given the area we've got up to here, this could be an IHS right shoulder forming, in which case the IHS right shoulder ideal low would be here in about the 1.313 area. The Australian dollar, possible head and shoulders breaking down. We could be forming an alternative right shoulder here. Watching the monthly pivot and weekly pivot resistance. Over the weekly pivot, chances are we're headed for a high retest. NZUSD could be forming a right shoulder on a head and shoulders here, and watching that with interest. The buy signal has reached the possible near miss target. Waiting to see what happens here. This could be a bull flag waiting for a setup to head back to the high. If so, I've got flag resistance here at about the 66.9 area. KC, possible topping action, leaning towards seeing a retest of this high. It's SB. I've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. We could be heading back to this declining resistance in the 12.55 area. A break above could take us back into these highs. CC, looks like a bull flag forming, leaning towards that. No current positive divergence. But if we retest this low, we could get that. Wheat, hasn't broken up from the likely bull flag yet. Probably going to. 60-minute sell signal has reached the possible near miss target. Corn, leaning towards seeing a retest of this high. Think this is bullish consolidation action. Soy, possible high here. Nice looking potential level top. We'll see. Nothing strongly saying that it's going to reverse back down. Possible test of this trend line owed soon. I've currently got that in the 955 area. Live cattle has broken up from the falling wedge. This is probable bottoming action. Could need a right shoulder low, a reversal back to the monthly pivot area before heading higher. And lean hogs. No obvious sign of a reversal, but we would get some negative divergence on a retest of this high. Okay, any more questions, guys? If not, notes for this morning. Now, I'm going to be around today. The sun is actually shining today, but it's going to be shining again tomorrow, in theory. This is England. So I'm going to do more afternoon work tomorrow, and it's Wednesday, so there's a lot to do. I'll probably get a post out and various other stuff today. SPX, would it seem more likely on a daily basis that it would need to visit its 50-200 DMA? No. I don't think so. This is actually enough, and this has been a very strong uptrend. If it wants to resume that uptrend, I wouldn't be astonished. Would I like to see it test the 50 DMA? Well, it almost has tested the 50 DMA. So I've currently got that at 33.05. We almost made it. So, I mean, really, I'm taking this as a near miss test on the 50 DMA already. This is a decent support area. It could hold. I think it's more likely it holds than it heads down to the 200 DMA, although there's a decent setup for getting up there. Either way, I'd be leaning towards seeing a retest of the high afterwards. Although we wouldn't have to do that, but it's just normally we would do that. And that would be my first impulse. And I'm thinking tech likely needs a retest too. So we'll see how that goes. But that would be my lean. So any more questions, guys? All right, now for today, we have obviously a lot of potential buy signals brewing, and we have this declining resistance to be tested here. I'm thinking if we break up from here, we may well come back for a retest of the low and go. If we don't break up from here, we could be heading back for the support trend line, which I've currently got in about the 32.75 area. That would be interesting, and that would get the full hit of the 50 DMA that was mentioned. So we will see. I'm quite liking a low forming somewhere around in this area. We will see how that goes. And then a retest of the high. Won't necessarily get that, but if we get over 3,400, I'd be leaning strongly towards it. So if we get to 3,400, we could still do a retest of the low, but if we get over the monthly pivot at 34.26, and we convert that to resistance, then the low retest is likely off. If we get a decent AM high this morning, I will be here and I will be calling it. And we'll see how it goes. All right, guys. Anyway, I'll catch you later. My pleasure as always. And let's see how it goes today. It should be an interesting day, I think. All right, cheers.